went from Naples up to Milan.
I thought that was a marvelous thing.
So you have to remind her. She loved it. She loved being there.
Because it's really not fair. The person is attempting.
You should look around.
I'm pleased to see so many of you here. We have a really interesting program lined up for you today. You may not have read about our guest speaker in the newspaper, but
Your speaking request may come from a friend or a stranger. It may be a part of your job, something as important as a sales presentation, or it may come from a civic or religious group. This program is designed to provide you with the skill and confidence to stand up and speak effectively in any situation. We will demonstrate the essential principles of effective public speaking, and we will show you the techniques that make speeches work. Always, the emphasis will be on practical guidance, information that you can begin using today.
please welcome Dr. Jerry Baker.
But let's start from the beginning.
Hello.
Hello, is Dr. Baker there, please?
Yeah, this is Jerry Baker.
This is Elizabeth Chase, and I'm president of the Management Club. We've been doing a series of programs dealing with communication issues, and your friend Art Johnson gave a great speech to our group last month. He suggested you might be a good speaker for our group as well.
Well, thanks for the invitation. You realize I'm a sports psychologist.
Right. We hear you've done some interesting work helping athletes improve their skills. Art says you use a technique where athletes visualize a successful performance.
Right. We call that positive imagery.
Aha. Well, I was thinking there might be applications for this approach in business situations.
Oh, yeah, it has lots of applications. Tell me, when would this be?
We had hoped you'd be available for our meeting on the 18th.
Well, I'd have to check my dates.
Well, sure, of course.
So tell me a little more. Where exactly would this take place?
At the Hyatt on Union Square.
And the time?
Hey, Jerry. Got you working.
Yeah. Well, Julie hinted that I get outside and get some fresh air and exercise.
There are a lot of other ways of getting fresh air and exercise.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, by the way, Art, I just got a phone call yesterday from the president of the Management Club.
I thought you might. How's the speech going?
Yeah, well, I don't know about this speech. Yeah, I think I need a little more information first.
Well, they serve great food.
Yeah, but what kind of an audience are they?
Oh, right. Let's see. They're nice people, very sophisticated. They ask good questions. They're a good, attentive audience.
Tell me more. I mean, men, women, ages, details, Art, details.
Right. Let's see. They're business people, mostly 30s to 50s. A good mix of men and women. Hey, I'd do it if I were you.
Come on, it's so much easier for you. Every time I've heard you speak, it's like you've got a natural ability for public speaking. I just don't know. Doesn't public speaking scare you at all?
Nah, well, there are some moments. It's more a matter of practice and preparation than some God-given talent. Look, just be yourself, show some enthusiasm, and prepare well. I'll help you get a plan together.
When Jerry thinks about speaking, he feels a little nervous, a touch of the butterflies. Besides that, he's busy, and he hasn't done much public speaking. But Jerry realizes that being an effective public speaker is a great asset, and to become an effective public speaker takes practice. He also looks forward to informing interested people about his work.
Yes, Elizabeth Chase, please.
This is Elizabeth Chase.
Oh, hello. Yeah, this is Jerry Baker.
Oh, hi, Dr. Baker.
I've checked my appointments, and everything's clear. I'd be pleased to speak on the 18th.
Oh, that's terrific. I'm so pleased to hear that.
Yeah, well, I do have a couple of questions. You got a minute?
Certainly.
Well, let me find my list here. Just a second.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, I'm familiar with the hotel that you meet in, but I'd like to know which room.
In the Plaza West.
Uh-huh. And could you tell me how exactly the room's set up?
Whether he knows it or not, Jerry has made a good beginning. He has undertaken the first essential task of good speech writing. he has begun learning about his audience. At the same time, he has begun to learn details about his speaking environment. What's the occasion? How big is the group? Are there other speakers? The more information you have, the more creative you can be in targeting your speech for your audience. And it will be less likely that you'll be surprised by your speaking circumstances. Jerry's brainstorming now. He's getting lots of ideas down on paper. He's not paying much attention to form. Still, in the back of his mind, two essential principles of good speechwriting are at work. First, he's focusing on his goal, which is to inform his audience about ways they can use imagery in business situations. And secondly, he's tailoring his speech to fit his audience. He's not going to bore these business people with a lot of technical jargon. When Jerry finishes brainstorming, he will begin researching details for developing his ideas. He may go to the library or reread back issues of his professional journals. He might even call some of his friends in the business community. Even now, while he researches material, Jerry is thinking about another essential principle of good speechwriting. He knows his speech must eventually have a clear three-part structure: an introduction, a discussion section, and a conclusion. In the introduction of your speech, you establish a relationship with your audience. You let them know what you will talk about and give them the confidence that you will not speak randomly. Most good speeches, though, provide something additional. At the very beginning, they provide the audience with an appetizer, an attention getter, something that piques the audience's curiosity, turns it fully to the speaker, and indicates the direction the speech is headed. Relevant humor, provocative statements, arresting facts or statistics, or rhetorical questions all can be effective attention getters.
Hey! Hey, how'd the tennis go?
It's great.
Oh, so you won, huh?
How'd you guess? Some days everything feels just right.
Well, listen to this. It's about golf, but you'll get the idea. Some of you who are golfers will recognize this situation. You're lining up a putt, you're moving from one side of the pin to the other, checking the slope and the grain. When suddenly, the line of the putt seems to just lay itself out on the green. You picture how the ball's going to break from the club face, how it's going to spin and curve, and then you practically hear it dropping into the cup. When you finally stroke the ball, it's like déjà vu, like you've been there before. The ball seems tracked in the precise course that you visualized and drops into the hole with that satisfying little plunk. Now, on good days, this feeling may reappear again and again, while on bad days, well, let's not talk about the bad days.
Sounds good. Needs a little polish.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's another one. I recently interviewed a very successful athlete whose method of preparing for an event
If you haven't guessed, Jerry's working on attention getters. While doing this, he accomplishes a couple of things. First, he's working on details. A humorous story or anecdote needs to be told clearly and precisely. Second, he's developing a style of presentation. Jerry's attention getters sound almost like normal conversation. Most successful speeches use this heightened conversational style. It's a style that feels natural and relaxed, both to the speaker and to the audience. The rest of your beginning is short but critical. First, you should have a single sentence that clearly identifies your topic. It took Jerry 2 tries to come up with a topic sentence. He started with,
Today I'm going to talk about positive imagery.
but he decided that wasn't specific enough, so he finally settled on,
Today I'm going to talk about how you can use positive imagery to prepare for business meetings.
You too will want your topic sentence to be as specific as possible. The final sentence of your introduction is where you make your personal view of the topic clear. This sentence need not necessarily begin with the words, I believe, I think, or I contend, but it often will.
I believe that using positive imagery to mentally rehearse business meetings can greatly improve communication skills.
So your introduction gets their attention, identifies your topic, and states your viewpoint. The discussion section of your speech is where you give your audience reason to agree with your point of view. You must give them facts and illustrations, proof, and you must maintain their interest.
Okay, Art, now, in the middle of the speech, I know I can't stray from the topic, and I got to make a few simple, clear points and put them in a meaningful order, but how do I keep it interesting?
Main thing is you gotta let your enthusiasm for your topic show. Personalize your speech. Hey, tell them some of your experiences or someone else's. You know, draw some analogies. Tell them some of your sports stories.
I got enough of those.
Oh, right. You make them as dramatic as you can. You give them some details. You want them to see the actual shot going through the net or hear the roar of the crowd. You want to make them feel something like the excitement of a last-second victory.
Yeah, I like that. That sounds good.
And another good way to drive home a point is to get some quotes from experts. Use some statistics. You know, numbers talk.
In your discussion, organize your main points. Keep them simple and relevant to the topic. Personalize your speech using anecdotes and examples. Finally, use vivid language. You want your audience to see, hear, feel, or taste what you are describing.
Yeah, okay, I think I've got it. Oh, but one more thing. What's the best way to finish up a speech?
Well, first of all, you want to tip them off you're about to finish. You know, it's ironic, but when even a great speaker mentions the words in conclusion or to summarize, the audience always focuses in more closely on what he's about to say.
So what do I do once I've gotten their attention?
Well, then you summarize quickly and hit them with your main points. Then you want to give them your parting shot. Some memorable story or something that leaves a lasting impression that you wanted to make in your speech. And if you're trying to sell them on something, then here's where you got to make a clear call to action. You'll think of something.
Yeah, I'll come up with something.
Oh, Jerry, one more thing. Don't fall in love with the sound of your own voice. Nothing is more aggravating than to be getting ready for the end of a speech and to have it drag on and on.
In the conclusion, cue the audience that your speech is about to end. Then quickly summarize your main points. Finally, conclude in a dramatic or memorable way. Leave a lasting impression that clearly highlights your objective in giving the speech.
Using your imagination to mentally rehearse both physical and mental events can greatly reduce your anxiety and enhance your performance, your sense of timing, and ability to focus clearly.
If Jerry were to speak in this manner to the management club, it wouldn't be much of a success. In fact, in a few minutes, when he listens to himself on the tape recorder, he's going to be thinking disaster. Jerry will be tempted to rewrite his speech in a more conversational style, but there is a better alternative. Instead, he should immediately reduce his speech to notes. He should take key words from each section, words that will remind him of his essential ideas, and list them in outline form. You want your speech to be in the style of heightened conversation. If you speak from notes, it comes naturally, with practice, of course.
When you use your imagination to rehearse a business meeting, it's important that you include in this mental image of the meeting details such as setting, people in attendance, and possible conversations that may occur.
Practice is essential. Practice under circumstances similar to the actual room you'll be in. Jerry knows he will be speaking at a lectern, so he's rigged one. As he practices, he's also picturing his audience. He imagines them before him, looking up and listening carefully. If possible, record and observe yourself on videotape. Otherwise, use a tape recorder. You will spot flaws in your speech that need correcting. But remember this, no one will be a harsher critic than you are. No speech is ever perfect. Practice before an audience, if you can. Even your 9-year-old will tell you if you are inserting ums and ahs where you should be pausing silently. We've told you to practice, and we've talked a little about how to practice. Now let's discuss what you should practice. Number 1, use your eyes effectively. Your eyes should neither stay in one place, nor should they move about restlessly. Be sure to pick at least 4 to 5 different locations or friendly faces in the audience, among which you can vary your eye contact.
Let me tell you about a young woman I know. Her name is Sharon Maddox. Now, when you first see this small, almost frail-looking person, you wouldn't believe that she can hit a tennis ball as hard as any female collegiate athlete in this state.
Number 2, you may pause to show a transition or for dramatic effect.
How does Sharon do this? Well, if you watch her play, it becomes clear. She has an extraordinary sense of timing and ability to concentrate.
The pause helps both the audience and you, the speaker. It adds dramatic impact and helps you pace your speech, giving you time to take a deep breath and collect yourself.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here.
For instance, your first pause should come when you reach your speaking position. Look slowly out across the audience without speaking. Say hello with a smile. You'll find pauses have a settling influence on your speaking. Number 3, use your body. Turning your whole torso to face different sections of your audience is often very effective. Walking in moderation, not pacing, is also sometimes effective. Gestures should appear natural. You want to avoid nervous fidgeting, and you want to be certain you don't lock your hands in concrete and never move them.
Sharon attributes her tennis accomplishments to 3 things. First, natural ability. She's naturally coordinated. Second, practice. She works hard. And third, and this is her secret weapon, she keeps herself mentally fit. She often visualizes herself in the process of winning a tennis match.
Here is a useful technique for practicing gesturing. Go through your speech 1 or more times, forcing yourself to gesture at least twice in every sentence. Keep up this forced, exaggerated movement until some gestures begin to feel natural. You will find that they continue to appear when you resume speaking normally. Number 4, make pitch, rate, and volume work for you. The great dramatic speakers range from whispering to shouting. They sometimes take long, dramatic pauses, and other times they race through an entire paragraph. Sometimes they rumble in deep anger, and other times their voices rise in joy or exasperation. Exaggerate this in your practice session. Have some fun. Let your voice roam a little. You'll be able to hear the results in your tape recorder.
You may not find yourself in an intense athletic struggle. But the point is this. You can find yourself in equally intimidating situations, and yet you can still feel confident. Why? Because you can mentally rehearse the situation. You can feel like you've been there before.
The 5th tip for effective speech presentation is more abstract. We call it ideas, not words. Concentrate on your message rather than specific words. Concentrate on the images and the ideas you want to convey. When you become enthusiastic about your subject, this enthusiasm becomes your greatest asset. Gesturing, voice modulation, word choice, and even memory will become more spontaneous. When we last saw Jerry, he was standing in his living room. He has another hurdle to overcome. There'll be people out here. And if Jerry's like most of us, his mouth will be a little dry, his chest a little tight, and his palms moist. Every good speaker feels nervous before going on stage. Some may call it excitement, but the symptoms are the same. You're never going to get rid of all your nervousness. And despite how you may feel now, you really wouldn't want to. Nervousness is a symptom of the heightened sensitivity which is needed to perform well. Still, it is important to control nervousness. Jerry has already taken care of some of the necessary steps. First, he's prepared well. He analyzed his audience and researched his topic. What he has learned has made him enthusiastic about his speech. He has also organized his speech well, with a clear introduction, discussion, and conclusion. He has used examples, demonstrations, and gentle humor, and he has kept it simple. Even more importantly, he has practiced. He has practiced his speech more than 6 times. As Jerry practiced, he became adept at one important mental trick. In fact, it became the theme for his attitude towards speaking. He trained himself to do that little mental somersault that changed, "I can't do this," to "I can do this." He paid close attention to the inner monologue we all go through, and he made it work positively. This is so confused, it's awful. Somersaulted to become.
If I simplify and put these ideas in order, this speech is going to work.
I'm not a trained speaker, became.
I know the material. I know how to practice.
I'll never get this perfect, became.
Nobody ever gets it perfect. But this information is useful and important.
I'm nervous, became.
This is exciting. It's an opportunity.
Despite all his preparation, Jerry expects to be nervous when it comes time for him to speak. He knows it's best not to fight his symptoms of nervousness. He'll accept these symptoms as an indication that he is keyed up enough to give a good, energetic speech. Jerry has arrived at the hotel an hour before lunch is scheduled to begin, but he has already been here before. He stopped by a few days ago to take a look at the meeting room. His purpose now is to refamiliarize himself with the banquet room and make this territory his own. Since he's early, Jerry leaves the room and goes for a walk. During his walk, he will visualize his audience as friendly, supportive people who are excited about hearing him speak. Expert public speaking is an art. The finer details are limitless in number. We learn by practicing, but we also learn through experience. One good way to start is by asking questions at group meetings or by volunteering to speak to groups with which you are comfortable. You may also want to consider joining Toastmasters International. Toastmasters offers an entertaining and non-threatening environment for learning public speaking.
Please welcome Dr. Jerry Baker.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. Now, some of you who are golfers will no doubt recognize this situation. You're lining up a putt. You're moving from one side of the pin to the other, checking the slope and the grain.
We'll return to hear the end of Jerry's speech in a moment, but his hard work is done. Jerry's going to do fine because he is well prepared. If you also organize your speech well, practice it thoroughly, and commit yourself to the process of learning to speak, you too can become an accomplished speaker.
Now, before concluding, I'd like to review positive imagery. Now, the technique is so simple, this will only take a moment. First, imagine the situation. Well, let's say it's an important sales presentation. Be sure to picture the room and all the people at that meeting in great detail. Then, imagine yourself feeling confident and calm. Visualize yourself working through the sales process. And finally, picture the successful result, the signed contract. You know, I have a neighbor who is a highly sought-after public speaker, and he is excellent, the best I've ever heard. In fact, many of you know him. His name's Art Johnson. He spoke here a few weeks ago. Well, I've always thought of Art as a natural, someone who speaks effortlessly. Well, Art recently confessed to me, much to my surprise, that public speaking still scares him. He says he's even tempted sometimes to cancel. But then he pictures 50, 100, 500 people in the audience listening to him attentively. He imagines them laughing at his jokes, applauding him, thanking him. And he says that that is an opportunity that's just too good to pass up. Now, I don't know what Art calls it, but I call that positive imagery. It works for successful athletes, it works for Art Johnson, and it can work for you.